Hello, my name is Brenda Santoyo, and I'm a Regional Customer Success Manager here at Ciara. And I focus on our client engagement, adoption, renewals, and overall success of our customers with our platform. Today we have Brandon Tyler with us. Welcome, Brandon.
Thanks, Brenda. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been working in the call center telephony industry for about 23 years now. I got my degree in computer science and engineering from Texas A&M and just got into the telephony industry, and it feels like a small industry. We just kind of stick together. So part of my day-to-day roles now, I work for in the financial industry, work for a large bank here in the United States. And part of it is supporting our own business lines. And so I create new self-service functions for our business lines and for our customers, and just try to make a great experience for them in the IVR. Right now, our big push is we're taking our legacy platform and moving it into Amazon Connect in AWS. And so it's been great to learn that new technology and understanding that. And pretty much my day-to-day, we have a vendor that's come in and is producing a lot of our code. And so instead of being the developer, I'm a little bit more of a tester. And so I've been pretty excited about Ciara Call Explorer coming out at this time. Good timing for me in the fact that I've had to kind of transition from being more of a tester and supporting. And so that's kind of what I do day to day.
Great. That sounds great. We're thrilled to have you here with us today to talk a little bit about how you're putting, Call Explorer to work in your IVR development process. So for those that in the audience that don't know, I'll start by telling a little bit about Call Explorer. It's a web-based phone UI that manual testers and IVR developers like Brandon can use to dial a test call into their contact center. As you dial, Call Explorer will be listening, logging, and documenting every step of that test call. As soon as you hang up, Call Explorer generates a test case for you. That covers the basics of how it works, but what you can do with that automatically generated test case and how you can use Call Explorer in your own environment goes way beyond that. And that's what we're so excited to talk about with you today, Brandon. So yeah. You started using Call Explorer in some really innovative ways right out of the gate. Tell us a little bit about how you're using it, maybe your top 3 ways that you're using it to support your IVR testing.
Yeah, I just now think of it as a starting point. Whenever we have our meetings and someone might bring up an issue, it's kind of the first thing I think of now. I'm making a test. If I'm going to have to call into my IVR and reproduce an issue, I just think, why not use Call Explorer? Because, hey, it can automatically create a test for me while I call it, while I get to hear the issue. And so that's kind of what I do, is I just think of it as, as a starting point, and it's really helpful for that. Another thing too is that it kind of helps me document my test cases, in the fact that if you have an issue that you find, the biggest thing that they want to know is, well, how do you reproduce it? How do you go through and reproduce this issue? Well, if you use Call Explorer and run it and see the result, you have an automatic documentation of that right away, that people can see exactly the flow of it. Okay, this is what the IVR said, this is what the caller said, and here's the issue where it failed. And so that's definitely one thing, is I always think of it as a starting point, because once you could start from scratch and go line by line creating your test case, or let the Call Explorer do it. And then after it's done, kind of go and edit it to your liking, to be in perfect sync with the way that you like it to be with the IVR.
That's good to hear. And any concept of how much time you've been able to save while using Call Explorer?
Oh, yeah. It's a good question. Obviously, if you were to sit down, create a new test case, and be looking at the design of the IVR, of how it's laid out, you can copy and paste and then say what the caller said. You're saving that whole time there, really. if you're starting from scratch. But I think overall, once you've kind of started, it feels like I probably save a quarter of my time just by using, the Call Explorer.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. So Brandon, we talked about the top 3 ways of how you're utilizing Call Explorer. Can you share that third way of how you guys are utilizing it?
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. I'll tell you about the third way. Yeah, and we've been using it really to kind of bring it where we had aspects of manual testing to kind of bring in aspects of automation testing. And one of the aspects is just regression, to be able to, when people ask me, and there's a change in the IVR, people ask me, they say, hey, we have all these changes. Instead of having to manually test something, how can we go through and just fully regression test? And one of the cool parts is CR Call Explorer has enabled us to do that, is create those different tests to help get more coverage so that we can have that full regression. And, one of the cool parts too is I was talking to a developer of mine when I told him about this feature with Ciara. He said, I've been thinking about doing that myself programmatically. Like, I call into my IVR, I have logs. It would be cool to have a test script that could then go and call the IVR in the same steps that I did. And so when I told him about that, he's like, wow, that's really cool. So it's kind of neat to think that you can have this regression suite of tests whenever you do a change, because we have changes all the time that are happening, and you never know which little leg it's going to fail. Your one little change over here could have caused this change over there. And so when you have that full regression suite of tests, that really helps that. Another thing too is that it's helped me to, with the automatically created test cases, that it's helped me learn more about the tags. I kind of said it can feel intimidating, maybe writing the tags or creating test cases. Well, with Call Explorer, it creates all the tags for you and all the replies and responses. And it's helped me learn, probably be the better test case creator, and looking at the tags like listen for PSST after barge in, and exactly how PSST is used, and looking and seeing how Call Explorer creates its test case. It's helped me be a better tester. Now often when I run a test and it doesn't quite sync up with the IVR, I can go in and look at the results, download the WAV file, and really kind of see the details of the call and really sync up my test cases with my IVR. And I felt like I've been able to do that because of Call Explorer.
Great. Thank you so much, Brandon. What advice could you offer to listeners that haven't started bringing automation into their contact center testing environment, but are evaluating and possibilities that they could bring into their contact center?
Yeah, I think it can feel overwhelming when you think about, how do I get coverage? And I was thinking about this as when you're selling your home, there it's like location, location, location. And with testing, it's coverage, coverage, coverage. So many times, people are asking me, hey, Brandon, can you run your campaigns over authentication, or, this certain flow of the IVR? And what Call Explorer can do is just help you get started. If you feel overwhelmed of, there's just so much, but just use Call Explorer to create one test case, and then create another, and then create another. And it kind of builds that off itself. And Call Explorer is a great way, I feel like, an introduction into the platform of Ciara, because there's so many different features that you could get lost in. There's really cool features, but the Call Explorer, if you just run it, all you have to know is your IVR. You don't have to know all the details of all the tags and how all the syntax of everything. All you have to know is your IVR and the phone number. So you dial it in, and then how it works, and it'll automatically create, those test cases for you. So give it a try. I feel like it's a good introduction into the platform.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else you want to share with us, Brandon, today?
Yeah, I just encourage you to check it out. I feel like as a software engineer, it's a really cool piece of technology that they've added to the platform, and go check it out.
Thank you, Brandon, for joining us today. And thank you, everybody who in the audience who joined us. Have a great rest of your day.
everyone, I'm Clara Eckel, and I work in product marketing at Ciara, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our speaker for this session, Audrey Merlivat from Mercedes-Benz. Audrey, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm a business consultant at the Mercedes-Benz Customer Assistance Center in the Netherlands. And I've been in this position for about 2.5 years now. So with my team, we are responsible of everything that's related to call flows. So that's from handling, the different announcements and recordings that we have, gathering requirements. Also, whenever one of our stakeholders wants to change an announcement or a call flow, or to enable new features and new phone lines. And we do this for about 50 countries that we handle so in our current infrastructure. So 50 countries and a bit over 30 languages.
Wow. Tell us a little bit more about what it's like to manage the testing of those IVRs in so many different countries, and what are some of the biggest challenges you face doing that?
Yeah, that can be quite tricky indeed when we have so many languages, because there are only that many that we can speak and understand. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we face is when we try to, check that the verbiage and the transcription or the recording is correct. And we try to just listen to an announcement and check what the transcript we have is, and try to check, are the words that I'm hearing also the ones I'm reading, which doesn't work very well. And it's also very tricky when, you're making a call to test a language you don't understand, and you get distracted by someone or by something. And then you have to redo the whole process again because you couldn't follow or you couldn't understand, or you're not sure if the word that you're looking for was actually said because you don't understand. So I think this is definitely one of the biggest challenges that we have with this. It's mostly to, just check the accuracy of the recordings and of what we're hearing.
Yeah, when the language isn't native, it must be really easy to miss something then.
Yes, it is.
So what would you say the most time-consuming aspects of this task then is related to those challenges?
I think maybe listening to the announcements, listening and making sure that they are correct. At some point you kind of know the words that you're looking for, but that comes from listening to the same thing 20 times over and trying to make sure that is correct. I think this is the most time consuming.
Yeah, and something you just said kind of spurred this question. So if you do miss something, say, or you do get distracted, then do you end up having to just redial and listen again over and over?
Yes.
Yeah,
because we don't want to just, give up and think maybe it's correct. We want to make sure that our customer have a good experience and that they listen to what they're supposed to listen. So we have to dial again and try again and make sure that it's correct.
Yeah, of course. Can you tell us a little bit about how Ciara's latest automated IVR testing feature, Call Explorer, has maybe changed this approach or at least improved the testing experience in this particular use case? And just before you do, I'll quickly explain for those in the audience who may not be familiar with Call Explorer, how exactly that new feature works. So Call Explorer is a web-based phone UI that contact center testers and IVR developers can use to dial a test call into their contact center's IVR. And then as you dial, Call Explorer is listening, logging, and documenting every step of that test call, so that as soon as you hang up, Call Explorer is automatically generating a test case for you with then each step of that call transcribed. And that just about covers the basics of it. But so, Audrey, how has this feature helped with testing your IVRs, especially across all the countries that you cover?
Yeah, it's helped actually in a lot of different scenarios. So indeed, just putting in the number and letting Ciara, do all the work, and then I check the transcription afterwards, and I can make sure that it's correct. I can kind of do a one-to-one, with the transcript that I also originally have, and make sure that it's correct. I could also send it to someone who speaks the language and double check that it is correct. I can also use it to translate, because maybe you want to make sure that this is indeed what you want it to be. So you can use also the transcription to translate it. So like for those steps, that's definitely helped a lot. And I also use it in different scenarios. Like, for example, when we have toll-free numbers in certain countries, we have toll-free numbers and you can usually only dial those from the country itself. So of course I could try to find someone in the country and, dial the number for me and let me know what's going on with this number. But it's just really much easier to just put it in CR myself in the Call Explorer and check that it is indeed working and that it is also playing what what I'm expecting it to play. I'm also using it a lot at the moment to create the test cases that are used in the campaigns for the monitoring dashboards so that we can also, continuously test our call flows in production to make sure that everything is working properly and working as it should. I guess those are just some of the scenarios where I'm using it.
That's great. Yeah. And especially for monitoring in production systems, then I'm sure that the test cases that you've created can help with that like reduction of repetition then.
Yes, absolutely. It's not too difficult to create the use cases yourself, but it's much faster when you use the Call Explorer because you just have to put in the number and maybe press, some of the options on your IVR and just let it do the work, save it, and that's done.
That's great. That's great. I'm so glad that you've been able to use some of the kind of classic benefits of automation into your existing processes without having to change a whole lot or learn, heavy new technology. That's really good to hear, Audrey. All right. So, Audrey, what advice could you offer our listeners who maybe haven't started bringing automation into their contact center testing or their production monitoring process yet, but are looking to do that and evaluating solutions that maybe could help them with that effort?
Well, I would say that, it's never too late to start. And even if you're not sure that you would have an active use or, scenarios where you would need this automation, it's still really good to have, in my opinion, just for the fact that it also makes it easier to repeat some of the test cases that you could have because, sometimes it's not enough to do just one test call, right? You want to test several times. You want to test over different periods of time as well. Also, if you want to share the test results to your IT team or to stakeholders or to whoever, it's just really nice that all those steps, are gathered with Ciara and that you can show all the different steps, that some of the recordings are also kept. So you can also keep this as reference to check that the quality is correct, to check, all sorts of details and aspects that you want to check. So I think, just as an advice, I would say think about it and don't be scared of doing it.
That's great. And I remember from one of our conversations before, Audrey, that you use Call Explorer, especially for this production monitoring for live systems, but you've recently started using it in your testing environment as well, correct?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I was really used to just picking up my phone whenever I was testing, and I didn't really think of using Ciara for it, but I've started using it, and it's just super easy to do, so I keep doing it now.
That's great. And then just kind of generally, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest advantages of automation that specifically applies to what you do in your day-to-day tasks and responsibilities?
It's very time saving. It's definitely helping with the time. Also I almost want to say kind of keep a proof of some of the things, or especially, when you have the recording that's also being saved, and you can check if the quality is good, because it can happen that one day, quality somewhere is just not good. So those things are definitely very helpful.
Great, Audrey. Thanks so much. Any last thoughts or stories about how you've used Call Explorer in your testing processes you want to share with our audience?
Yes, well, there's a small kind of anecdote that I was thinking about. Some weeks ago, a colleague of mine asked me for the transcript in one of our phone lines. And, instead of going through all of my folders to look for what the transcript is, I just used Ciara, the Call Explorer, put the phone number in and gave him the results, which feels a bit lazy, but also just makes things, a little bit faster and easier.
That's great. No, I'm glad we were able to speed that process up for you. Thanks for sharing again your experience with using Call Explorer, and then just also your experience with automation and what you do in your day-to-day tasks and lives with our audience. We really appreciate you joining us today, Audrey. And thanks to everyone in the audience who came to the session. Please enjoy the rest of your day.